I watched Leo the 2023 animated movie, and I think this movie deserves a 7 out of 10. So let's dive into why I think that is the case. Now, Leo is one of those movies that kind of sneaks up on you. I mean, at first glance, it looks like a simple talking lizard comedy for children, and well, let's be honest, it is exactly that. But underneath all the goofiness, the movie is actually quite heartwarming. It's actually really heartfelt, and that is pretty surprising, at least to me. And we have Adam Sandler, who is voicing Leo, a cynical 74-year-old classroom lizard. And we have Bill Burr voicing Squirtle the Turtle. And both of them form a great duo. So, what is this movie really about? Well, this movie is about this lizard who has spent a lifetime watching generations of kids grow up from inside a glass tank. And that setup alone has so much potential. We get to see questions asked and answered, like what does a lizard really think about the world? What does he think about life? How does he feel about aging? And how does he feel about change? And when the movie leans into that, the movie is actually pretty great. So, the setup of the story, we kick off with Leo realizing that he doesn't really have many years left to live. And that sparks kind of a late life crisis. So, not a midlife crisis, but a late life crisis, where he suddenly feels the urge to do something meaningful with his life. And that something ends up being helping the children in his classroom navigate their problems. And Adam Sandler's voice performance sells the entire thing. He plays Leo really grumpy, tired, and sarcastic. And like I said, we have Bill Burr, who voices Squirtle, the turtle, and he brings this perfect pessimistic counterbalance, like, Bill Burr does in his movies. I mean, he's one of the best to do so. And they form a great duo. And the thing with this movie is when it leans into these questions like what does a lizard really think about the world, the movie genuinely is heartfelt. Now, what works really well for this movie? Well, the strong character writing, to be honest. Pretty much every kid in a class has a distinct personality, a flaw, and somewhat of an arc to him or her. I mean, we've got the anxious kid, we have the bratty one, we have the tryhard, the overachiever, the shy one, the bully. We have them all. And Leo helps each of them grow in their own small ways. Now, that's quite an interesting setup for a movie. And the emotional journey feel well, not the emotional journey for Leo, but the emotional journeys for the children, they feel real and surprisingly grounded for a movie that is a comedy and kind of goofy because it is a movie about talking reptiles. And like I said, when the movie leans into what it is about, when the movie slows down a bit, when Leo actually starts talking about aging, when he starts talking about loneliness or finding purpose, this movie it definitely hits the right spots. It definitely pulls on the emotional strings. And that to me is really surprising for this movie. I mean, there is a scene or two maybe where Leo is really quiet and thinking about life. And for a Netflix kids movie, those moments are shockingly thoughtful. And let's be honest, Netflix doesn't really produce the best movies. And the message in this movie is about living fully, helping other people, and learning about who you are. And that works beautifully. And we definitely get a movie where the animation has some personality. I mean, the overall designs aren't really groundbreaking. And the animation itself does look lively and expressive. Could have been much better, but it definitely is nice to look at. Like I'm saying here, it's not groundbreaking, definitely not Oscar level visual storytelling, but it's definitely solid enough and it has some charm and personality to it. And surprisingly for me, most of the comedy sits where it needs to sit. Most of the jokes actually land. How about that? It's lighthearted, it's warm, and occasionally surprisingly adult. Now, nothing that makes you fall out of your chair laughing, but enough to dry, well, not enough to dry, but enough dry wit and situational humor to keep you entertained, I think. So the humor definitely works. And those are the things that I think work really well in this movie. Now, there are obviously some problems in this movie, and my main complaint would be the songs. The songs are, well, rough. The musical numbers are absolutely the biggest weakness of this movie. They are forgettable, they're generic, and they feel like filler instead of real storytelling tools. And yeah, the songs become unnecessary and sometimes unintentionally awkward, especially when Leo sings in a goofy voice. I don't know really what was going on, but it was a little bit silly and weird, awkward. So for me, that is one of the biggest problems in this movie. The songs are really rough, and yeah, the other thing that I have somewhat of a problem with is the repetitive structure of the movie. Now, like I said, we have different children in the classroom. Every child is represented in this movie, every type is represented, and Leo is helping each and every one of them. So we get Leo goes to kid number one and helps them. Then Leo goes to kid number two and helps them. So we do get a movie that has a lot of rinse and repeat to it. I mean, it's sweet, but it prevents the movie from delivering a really big emotional punch, what could have been the case. But sure, it is maybe a little bit nitpicking because that is what the story is about. He is helping each child individually. So, yeah, you get a repetitive structure. So, maybe a little bit nitpicking, but yeah, it is definitely repetitive in structure. And then something that I have always been complaining about in most movies, and that is the tone of the movie. And also here in Leo, the tone of the movie is a little bit all over the place. The movie, like many, can't really decide what it really wants to be. Is it a coming of age drama? Is it a silly comedy? Is it a pop culture joke machine? Are we doing emotional storytelling? Is it a musical? I mean, because of that, the emotional moments don't always land with full force. I think that is the way to put it. And the comedy sometimes feels like it's aimed at completely different audiences within the same scene. So that is a problem in terms of tone, obviously. It doesn't really know what it is doing. But sure, once again, that might be a little bit nitpicking. You can definitely pick up on that when you watch the movie. It's nothing too problematic. I think the songs are the most problematic in the movie, but yeah, we have the repetitive structure and the tone. So yeah, nothing too crazy. I definitely think that a 7 out of 10 is actually really good. So for me, Leo, it is a good movie. It's not a masterpiece. It's not groundbreaking, but it's definitely above average, at least for me, and that says a lot because I don't like a lot of these animated movies anyway. I think it's kind of warm. It definitely is funny and thoughtful and surprisingly emotional. The animations, they look good, they are colorful, expressive, and the character arcs, they land. And I wasn't expecting that. And then we have Adam Sandler, who actually gives one of his better comedic performances. And I'm not a huge fan of Adam Sandler, but I gotta give credit where credit is due, and he definitely does a very good job. So we get forgettable songs, a little bit of inconsistent story logic, maybe, repetitive structure, and that keeps it from reaching full potential. But still, if you want a heartfelt family movie that actually says something more meaningful behind all the jokes, then I think Leo is absolutely worth the watch. But that's just my take on the movie. What do I really know? I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope it is helpful to you. And let me know what you think of the movie in the comments. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.